him here. So thank you very much, Dr. Rook.
Can you hear me in the back? No. Right along here?
No, it's very fuzzy. There's a reference.
How about right here? How about right here? I will do it without the mic. How's that? I'll just talk loud. Can you hear me? Bill, can you hear me? You're deaf then, Bill. They said they can hear me. I'll speak as loud as I can. Hopefully it won't break anybody's eardrums here. If it's okay with you all, I spend 18 hours a day in a necktie. I've spent about 14 a day in a necktie. It's okay if I loosen it. I'm going to take tonight and just and speak to you about the last almost 3 years of my life, and where I see this country going, and what our vision is for Americans. I want to start by telling you just a little bit about myself. For those of you all who don't know me and haven't had a chance to read my bio, I grew up at then the smallest county in the state of Tennessee, Stewart County, Tennessee. The first home I lived in that I can remember had 3 rooms, no indoor plumbing or running water. My dad worked for B.F. Goodrich factory. My mother worked for Kroger's in the checkout line, later in a bank as a teller. I went to a 2-room country school, 6 rooms, 6 grades in one room and 2 in the other. And I had an opportunity in my life to go to a good public school. I had a chance to go to college in my hometown, which I still support as much as anything. Austin Peay could never have been here without that small college in my hometown. Medical school at UT in Memphis. I was there at a very historic time. My freshman year of medical school, Martin Luther King was assassinated. It was a very scary time in America. I remember that very well. One of my classmates came to school as the guard was called up with a loaded M16. It was not a good time in American history in the 60s. I went to the mailbox. Like I look around and see a lot of you guys, you probably made the same trip. I went to the mailbox. I got a greetings, and from Uncle Sam. I thought that was pretty nice. They gave you a dream sheet. They said you can go. I marked on now southeastern United States. They got the direction right. They just got the continent wrong. They sent me to Southeast Asia instead. Some of you all have made the trip. Came to Johnson City, Tennessee, started a medical practice. There were 4 of us that built that practice to 84 doctors, 84 providers, about 350 employees. Had an opportunity to be the mayor of Johnson City, and had an opportunity at the end of my medical career. I knew I could work a little longer, but I didn't like the direction of the country. And I told my wife one day, I said, Pam, I'm tired of going to the recovery room and to the doctor's lounge and complaining. I wanted to try to do something about the way the direction of our country. I think this room is full of people who feel exactly the same way. And I believe, and with the bottom of my heart, only in America can a young kid like me from Stewart County, Tennessee, grow up and do the things I have and be a congressman in the U.S. Congress and represent the kind of people that I know you are. And it's a privilege to do that. Now, I want to share with you one medical little fact about myself. I took care of some of the most difficult cases you could imagine. I did a lot of cancer surgery. I took care of the sickest pregnant women you could find. And for 31 years, I never took a Tums. I never had an antacid. I never needed one. I take a Prilosec every day. And every day this morning I had heartburn thinking about what's going on. That is an honest fact. I had to buy a Prilosec. You get it for $22, $28. The big pack. Some of you guys are probably buying. So anyway, that's sort of where we are. Let me just quickly run through the first 2 years and into here, and then we'll go over this. I'll give you a test today, too, by the way. Did you notice that? There's an exam. You're not going to get out of here. We're going to find out how much you know, and then we're going to do the budget presentation. Well, the first 2 years, we were in the minority. And my hometown paper, the Johnson City Press, labeled me Dr. No. And I told them, that's no problem. If you'll give me anything I can vote for, I'll be delighted to vote yes. But I didn't come up with anything. To show you how absurd a a lot of the things we did in the first 2 years, why the private sector was needed. We voted 1,661 times my first 2 years in Congress. One of the votes I remember, a very historic vote, was on congratulating Confucius on his 2600th birthday. I just punched president. I said, I can't stand this. I just voted president. Another memorable vote I made was congratulating on the commemoration of the battle of the 25th anniversary of the Battle of Marathon. And I said, well, that's really interesting. I asked the guy who had the legislation, I said, well, who was the guy's name who ran the 26 miles? He didn't know. It was Phidippides. Why would I know some stuff like that? Well, because I've run 4 marathons. But I thought, how ridiculous to take the people's time and money to run a Congress to vote for that sort of thing. Yeah. So the first 2 years, we voted on 5 important pieces of legislation. And there were 5. One was a stimulus bill that we passed in 2009. Congress passed with a unanimous vote. Republicans were unanimously against that bill. I think you can say unequivocally it was a failure. I was on Eric Bollig's show for about an hour the other day on his, does some of Glenn Beck's, and he has a show on Fox Business. And the Democratic consultant on there said that, explained how well it worked. And Eric asked me, well, Congressman, what do you think about it? And I said, well, I'm going to hire her to run my next political campaign because she would describe the voyage of the Titanic as a wonderful North Atlantic cruise. So we had the stimulus bill. We voted for a budget, which, by the way, was the last budget until the continuing resolution. Remember that Congress passed one budget in the last 3 years so far. I'm going to tell you, the House of Representatives is going to have a budget passed this year. I'm going to tell you a couple of tidbits in there that are very good about this budget. So we did that. We then got to vote on a bill called Cap and Trade. Remember that one? Well, Cap and Trade came out. Let me tell you how bad this is. A 700 pages now, addition. It's called a manager's amendment. I wrote at the time. It was laid out on a table at 3:09 a.m. on a Friday morning. We voted on that bill that day. A bill that would affect every single person's energy costs in this country. And some people thought it would elevate costs for some people as much as $3,000 a year. How many people, including my 88-year-old mother, could afford an extra $250 a month in addition to the already high bills that were out there? But one little thing happened that year. The Lord works in mysterious ways. I just didn't know it would be Massachusetts. Scott Brown got elected to the U.S. Senate. Who would have thought? He was instead of having 60 votes in the Senate, they only had 59. Scott Brown said, I will not vote for that piece of legislation. It never got heard in the Senate, and it is not the law of the land. Otherwise, it would be the law of the land. So we had that vote. And then the great health care debate came up. Remember the speaker at that time said, we need to read the bill, pass it. Guess what I did? I read it first. And there were a lot of things in there I didn't like. I was one of the few people who probably read that bill in its entirety. It's one of the reasons I went to Congress with 30-plus years experience. And this was one of the things, one of the things that I noticed in the bill. When I read that, I thought there were 9 physicians, or are 9 physicians, there are now 15 in the U.S. Congress. I thought, why in the world wouldn't you consult a doctor that's been doing this for 30-plus years? Why would we do that? Not one of us was consulted about that bill. Not one time about that bill. It was passed purely on a partisan basis, and that's one of the reasons that the people in this country have not bought into it. You cannot pass a bill strictly on partisan lines and have a bill into it. I believe it. What did the bill do? It took $575 billion out of Medicare. You didn't hear me wrong. Out of Medicare. In the next 10 years, we're going to add about 3 million seniors per year, including this one right here, who's just been added to the Medicare